Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. I appreciate the attendance, and hopefully for the next 25 minutes we can bring you a little energy and some insight into the operation we have at NBCUniversal West Coast Studio Ops. We have indeed layered in quite a bit of content into this 25 minutes, so hopefully you just take the notes you can. Happy to chat after we're done here and share some deeper insights into the material to the extent you're interested. As a facilities person and operator, I try to put myself in your shoes and just think through how much content can I deliver and give you things to take back home and ask your teams about. I was like, hey, what's our strategy around this that I learned at the WorkSpace conference? I want to know if we have anything that brings us this level of capacity to our teams. So before we dive into the content, though, it would be absolutely fitting for us to start, kind of as the intro alluded to, with a little bit of stuff from kind of Hollywood, which is where we're located. So please enjoy. So I thought I'd put that up front just to kind of show you where we're from. Hopefully you figured it out. We're the studio backlot operations. That is the famous clock tower from Back to the Future. We got to go in there and goof around for a few minutes to get that video clip, and then we did some mixing with it on the side. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of context. But as you can see, I don't have any slides for you today. We're going to take you through kind of an animation with some highlights, and then again, we'll just give you kind of the top line summary, and then we'll talk about more, hopefully when we network later today. Universal property and West Coast studio, something like 5 million maintained square feet, all ranges of office space, corporate space. It's truly an operating city that we run, and we have a pretty diverse portfolio. We have a high-rise facility that Terri operates, 36-story. We have the studio backlot operation, DreamWorks Animation Campus, that's more kind of a collegiate feel, and then a bunch of leased properties as well. So our operations really have brought consistent process technology to those sites, and that's what we're going to teach you and speak to you about today. So really the abstract for our talk is focused around these core elements of our strategy: delivering an excellent workspace environment, providing best-in-class customer experience all times, and being proactive, data-driven, and most importantly, a caring team. I was really glad to hear the conversations earlier today around this aspect of operations, having teams that care about their clients and that go the extra mile to make that difference in someone's day. In the previous talk, they were describing distractions that happen, because in facility stuff breaks, right? And I was really glad to hear the last talk about, it isn't just, you shouldn't see the facilities teams and the operating teams. We're in the relationship business, and it's great that our clients know they can reach out to us anytime, and we're going to treat them with respect, truly care about the issues that they're coming to us with, and then make sure that they're taken care of. So today we're going to talk through those elements and then show you kind of what we're about. So with that, I'll hand it over to Terri.
Isn't it amazing that George Bernard Shaw lived in the first half of the 20th century, yet he came up with a quote that is still so relevant to our workplace environment today. He said the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. How prophetic was that? We use this quote as our underlying focus in creating our data, technology, communication, and overall strategy rollout this year. At NBCUniversal, we try to eliminate the illusion of communication through our sets meets expectation, or SME culture. It's a part of our everyday life. We are constantly focused on our teams meeting their commitments to their clients and coworkers. We also use this SME approach when we implemented our new integrated workplace management system, Archibus, and our brand new 24/7 service center that we rolled out this year. We really focused on and created SLAs for specific work categories and priorities that drive performance and timing. We were very sensitive and thoughtful in the amount of communication that we communicated with our clients via computer. We wanted to make sure that we had enough communication, but not too much to overrun their inboxes. And then we created a dashboard for our teams that showed due today and past due work orders that they could look at daily to ensure that they were meeting their commitments. If they needed to reset a work order, they did so personally with the client. What's resulted from all of this is an increased respectful and trusting relationship with our clients. And in a service organization, what could be better than that?
I completely agree. So I'm going to shift into a second little video we put together for you. I think that highlights this point quite clearly. So please enjoy. So hopefully, the idea today is that we bring some of these clips to you so they make it a little more memorable. So as I see something like that, I smile every time I see it. And it's because those points that Terri was just describing are absolutely core to our culture. Setting meeting expectations, delivering on our promises, meeting schedule. And it all comes down to how we respect and care for each other and treat them. So you're probably wondering, why do we have this big smiley face in front and center in the presentation? So this is one of my favorite spots. So Terri, please take it away.
Happy customers, they're the key to the success of any service organization. We challenged ourselves to come up with a clear and simple way to assess client satisfaction levels in our new IWMS implementation.
I mean, the idea here is that with the smiley face emoji, it's a super simple kind of tool that everyone can understand.
Yeah.
And with that, then I could push this out in survey tools and make it something that interfaces with our customers regularly, and you'd be surprised at the data that comes back. The piece that probably we enjoy the most is that the customers know that within seconds, we're responding to feedback about maybe something that we've missed in a delivery or in a scope that was set with a customer, and then they know because they get that senior level correspondence back that we're taking them seriously. And that's something that has transformed how we operate.
Yeah, and what we do is we receive these emojis. If it's a neutral or frowny face emoji, we reach out to the appropriate property team to reset with the client immediately. So what that does is they come back, the property team comes back to us with their resolution. We create that direct line accountability, and the benefits are our clients know how important they are to us and that we care because we have reacted so quickly to the issue. We also post these face metrics directly on our service center screens, dead center, so it's a huge motivator for our service center teams to do a good job. We also look at each of the resolutions that we developed and use them as a training and learning opportunity for the hope that they never occur again. And then lastly, our quick responses have drawn executive attention. So for us, that means that the implementation is successful.
So let me show you some detail now. So I know the smiley face is very cute, and it's like, okay, that's taking up a lot of real estate on your screen, Matt. But let me show you how serious this is. So this is our central monitoring operation. We have our operators there, and it's no joke. I got the smiley faces right in the center of the room. And that's hugely important to us because this is a very dynamic screen. It's looking at power systems, cooling systems, UPS, generators, our Falls Lake reclaimed water systems. So right in the middle is the customer experience and what our customers are saying. And I put that there because I'm showing that this is core importance to our service, is immensely valuable, that our whole team appreciates and kind of understands why this is there and what it does. So every feedback that comes in from these surveys come to me. I read them, and within minutes, if there's something that's negative or amiss, I'm sending it to the appropriate site team. We're talking about it, and we're saying, okay, now which of your senior team members, managers, or directors are going to call that customer, apologize for the miss, and then reset? That's a super simple thing to do. Not high-tech at all, but immensely effective. So this is why we show this, because it is a service offering that we do that we decided on early in our implementation of the IWMS platform, and it has paid off significantly. So I wanted to share that with you today, give you some insight into a kind of a cute way to pursue customer feedback on the services that we provide. And it's amazing when you dig in the data, like what customers say. Timely, efficient, prompt, responsive, speedy. This is a word cloud where the larger the word, as you guys know, the more frequent the word shows up in the surveys. Put this here because this comes in from our customers, and I share this with the teams. I want the technicians to know what our customers are saying. It would be easier, obviously, not to do that, just to let them stack into a survey that rolls up once a month in a report. But in my view, that isn't as effective. It's not leveraging the energy and the enthusiasm that our customers have, go out of their way to share with us. So it's on me and it's on Terri to share it with our teams. And that's what we've been doing. It's really a focus on the team's culture, sharing with them successes, learning from challenges, and then just being very transparent with how everything works. So I'm going to shift gears now, and we're going to pivot into another aspect of the operation that I mentioned in the opening remarks about proactive operations. So in the last 2 years, I've spent an enormous amount of time architecting a connected building framework for the NBCU enterprise. So what that means is that it's dedicated smart building IoT network that connects to the various systems that we have access to for data operations, but with a consistent strategy, so that way I can layer in the information that these systems tell me, and then I could give it to the operators, all with the intent of anticipating things that will break. One of the talks earlier today was the LinkedIn talk mentioned predictive operations. Well, that's a very powerful thing, but it's also not easy. In the early opening panel, the Google representative mentioned the immense challenges with machine learning and AI and trying to get our systems to be smart enough to look for patterns. That's still a little ways out in our business, I'm sure you guys know, but the data are there. So we've broken it down, sliced it into simple things that help us anticipate where there's going to be distraction in the workplace. And that is really valuable. So those are some of the things we challenge each other with. Okay, so who remembers this? Show of hands, I see heads nodding. You guys know what this thing is? All right, the old mercury-based thermostat. It's built to simultaneously heat and cool. It's what it does. As a kid, I used to work with my dad. He was an HVAC contractor, and he'd have like 20 of these on his truck, right? So you take it apart, you're like, look at that little thing in there, it slides around. Who knew that all these years later I'd be giving a presentation talking about that very thermostat? But it's kind of amazing because you take this very analog, very no data type device, and then you fast forward and look at what we have now. The expectations are through the roof with what technology for building systems, operations in the built environment provide. In commercial, it is not easy, as I'm sure everyone here knows. Your Nest at home, you compare them now, it anticipates when you're going to be there, it tells you it thinks it should be cooler than you want it, all these things that, as an operator in a complicated facility environment, is very difficult to execute. So we put this here because it is possible but you have to break it down and really decide what, in our view, data elements are worth processing to that degree. So let me give you some examples. There's a cross-section of a building. You have fire alarm systems, automation systems, lighting systems, generators, pumps, thermostats, et cetera, et cetera. And if you tried to grab all that at once, what would you do with it? I mean, we have a lot of trouble just breaking down even just 36 floors of a building and seeing, are people generally okay if they're hot or cold? Because there's so many feedback points. It's very difficult. So the takeaway there is we're keeping it simple. Everyone can probably understand this binary example here, on or off. So the predictive tools that we've built scan for this. Is the system supposed to be on or off right now? I mean, something as simple as a schedule in a complex environment is difficult to execute because people stay late, people come early. And I know you're probably saying, well, Matt, you could just put occupancy sensors in there and let it override a schedule. But that works until you have engineers who override it because they got a call from somebody that knows their number, and then before you know it, can multiply that times 20, and then your automated, very predictive system is really just a time clock at that point. So we're trying to bring that around, and the analytics that we've programmed are hunting for abnormalities with on or off. Very simple. So this is our last clip of the day, and I'm going to take you through some things that hopefully that will resonate with some of the challenges we have as operators in this rapidly adapting environment in the workplace, and then we'll drive it home for the afternoon. So please enjoy. All right, so hopefully in that last one you can kind of pick up on what I was saying, and I'll get to the last few points of the afternoon. That is one chiller plant that's in Terri's building, the high-rise facility. We modernized it, put in the ultra-high efficiency turbo core machines. A whole layer of automation sits on top of this thing where I'm hunting for pumps that aren't cycling right or automation setbacks that are not controlling correctly. But this one screen, this is the most complex screen I'll probably show you today. Those blue boxes are data points. Every one of those data points are something that my operators have to understand, is it right or wrong? Is that pressure or speed or flow rate or output value correct? How could you ever know the answer to that when you're looking at something that has that many moving parts? You know, it's a complex machine that's intended to maintain set point and then do it efficiently all day long. So zooming out, you know, there's this high rise I've been talking about. So the takeaway that I'm hoping to share with you today, something that, again, we've spent a couple years now really building out, is architecture. So when I go to our engineering teams, I say, what is our architecture to make sure I can get the data out from systems that I start with today, and then as I do rehabs and refreshes, I can get the next layer, then the next layer, then the next layer. Either I slam in a lighting system, slam in an automation system, slam in a fire life safety system, and they all do their own thing and they do it well. Or I have an architecture strategy that says, this is how I expect you to connect. This is how I expect you to connect, because when you do that, the data from these systems can then wire back to our integrated workplace management system. I can make work orders now. I can assign SLAs to say, okay, if these things pop, you have this much time to respond, because if it fails, it's going to be really bad. I can achieve all that capacity because I have a thoughtful architecture to the data and the systems that drive it in a building. So that's been a very powerful conversation for us. You know, our architecture for our smart systems in a building, and then how I want those to flow. Like, where does the data go? What do I use it for? And does it help me operate better? Ultimately, what we're doing here is looking for the sweet spot in these tools. I'm an engineer, you probably figured it out by now, but I try to hide it a little bit. The sweet spot in the way you operate these facilities is always the spot where, look, you're either going to overshoot or undershoot, and someone's not going to be happy. So when you talk to your automation controls partners and now we have groups, all they do is analytics. And we say, okay, these are the things I want you to hunt for. If I'm going to do a planned maintenance activity, I want to know, is there anything that the system is starting to tell me is going wrong? Because if it is, I'm going to make a work order just for that, and I'm going to send it to the same team, and then when they're already mobilized, they're going to find that root cause. They're going to see the system saying this, showing a pattern here that's drifting from a sweet spot that you said you care about, Matt, so we're going to fix that. So when you break it down to that kind of conversation, it actually is pretty manageable, I think. Otherwise, you can kind of get sucked into, like, where do you start with this? We've done a tremendous amount in not a very long time, because we're looking for these pretty simple things to program into how we operate. Sweet spot, on-off, architecture, ultimately to be executed by the team, which is what we're going to get at in a minute here. Terri.
So I really like this slide. Friends don't let friends use bad data. We all know how important data collection is in this day and age. It's the basis of almost all decision making, and bad data or bad data interpretation can be costly. We really focused on looking at the architecture and the structure of the data when we implemented our IWMS system. We also looked at our work order categories to ensure that they were meaningful. We didn't just accept or settle for their it doesn't work that way from Archibus or the standard out-of-box terminology that they provided. Instead, we rebranded the Archibus report a problem to a more friendly customer request, which we felt was more positive. Another valuable best practice was we challenged our teams to come up with key metrics up front that would illustrate how these new processes were adding value. We also, Matt and I, have spent weekly time with our service center teams, ensuring that they're triaging data correctly. We've done that since the beginning, and we still do this 10 months later every week. That data collection is so important. So the work order is tied to either a room and or an asset as appropriate. Data is collected and a history is created. From that history, we plan to be able to prioritize our capital improvements over time. But the other great thing about this data is it shows us immediate issues that we need to deal with, so we can improve the environment right away. And our overall strategy is to go from a highly reactive environment, and I mean really reactive environment at NBCUniversal, to an exceptional proactive facilities team. And with this approach, we've come a long way in a very short period of time.
Perfect. So now, as we wrap it up, let's focus on the most important part of all of this, our teams, and how our teams understand and appreciate all of these tools that we've been bringing. And we're bringing them fast, and in a lot of areas with a lot of investment to make sure that we have the best access to support our mission of the operation. So this is a pivot for you. We switch over into discussions and training with tradesmen and foremen on emotional intelligence. That's why I was so glad to see that in the previous talk, that this piece here probably is the most important. And I spend an enormous amount of time on this subject with our teams, talking about having empathy and awareness, social skill, self-management, because we're not responding the way we did before. Yes, I have hundreds of technicians who go out there and they make it all work and go. But if I expect them to really take advantage of these tools, I have to slow down and make sure that they're comfortable, that they're motivated, that they want to learn, and that they really can understand what these provide. It won't show up in a 1-hour video recorded training session. It just won't. I've been to those. I've done countless sessions like that, but they don't cut it. The technicians want to really own it. So I just think this piece here has really helped us transform how we operate. I know because I've been in the room with the operators. These are our foremen here doing trust exercises, walking around with blindfolds on. And these guys go out there and they're gonna fix a domestic water line, they're gonna build you a building, but right here, they're breaking it down and they're learning these skills. And yes, this takes time, and yes, it takes a lot of care and energy to make it happen, but it's absolutely worth it. So to deliver that next generation operation that leverages all of these tools we've been talking about this afternoon, having them, our boots on the ground leaders who lead other teams to make all this happen, have to be part of it and hopefully appreciate it and then support each other through all this work. So here's some fun just snippets of pictures we've done, workshops, all on these skills, bringing it to them with professional coaching, with exercises and workshops, and teaching them how to make it all happen.
There's been a huge amount of change management. A lot of these guys have been here 40 years and maybe never had a cell phone. And that's how they're operating now with a cell phone.
That's right. So as we conclude,
smartphone.
Growth mindset, fixed mindset. I'm sure people in this group here have gone through literature on these topics, but we've spent a lot of time with the foreman on exactly this, how we want our teams to be in a growth mindset outlook on their day-to-day when they come to work. You know, that they have a challenge as an opportunity to grow and that they know that feedback is constructive. It's not like they're in trouble. You know, so we have to break it down as leaders to make sure that this is understood and then hopefully get most of our team into this way of thinking. You know, so these are some of my personal favorite tools, bringing them emotional intelligence in the workplace, focus on a growth mindset, and then knowing that they have leadership that truly will support them as we're in this rapid change, evolution with technology and data and process and structure and service center and analytics and all these things we're doing with asset management and space management and moves, and I could go on for hours and hours on how all that capacity is available. But if the teams don't have this and they don't know that we have their back, it's not going to work well. Positive results from this already. We implemented all of those tools we mentioned this past half hour over the past year and a half. We're well on our way into next generation operations where we truly have analytics that are transformative for the market. We're sharing them across the portfolio. Our colleagues in New York and Florida and Chicago and Denver are leveraging the library we've built because we've done it in a way that scales. And with that, I'd like to wrap it up for this afternoon. Definitely appreciate your kind attention as we've talked through how we at NBCUniversal are delivering excellent workspace environment, truly, at our core, trying to deliver best-in-class customer service and these tools that are helping us be a proactive, data-driven, and caring operation. So with that, thank you very much for your kind attention this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.